What's up, world? You are welcome to Nesteli. What's up, world? You're welcome to Nesteli. And today you have myself as your host. What's up, world? You are welcome to Nesteli. And today you have me, Dipo, and your host, Nez. And we're going to be talking about a book by Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. There's a reason why she asked me to do this. This is a subject matter I'm quite passionate about. Africa, black people, and all of that. For me, personally, this is like a disclaimer. I see us as one people, the whole black race, if we may use that term. But this book, Destruction of Black Civilization, it just talks about how African history, for instance, has been written through other people's eyes, through the eyes of initially the Arabs, and then through European eyes, the ancient Greeks, for instance, the Aristotles, the Platos, Socrates, and them. They wrote about African people of dark skin that they met with, and interestingly enough, at that time they were quite objective about the way they talked about it. But in this day and age, I think it's quite obvious that black history has been undermined, so much so that it has been whitewashed. That every achievement that the black people could have made must have had some white influence. So that's the myth that this book actually debunks, that it's absolutely not true. He started his studies from, I think, 1957 thereabouts. Yes. So it's a book that culminated of 16 years of research into African history. He traveled across Africa, all around Africa, and did a lot of field work. He started in 1957.
Yeah, he started in 1957 when I think Ghana.
Yeah, Ghana had just was the first black country.
First independence.
Independence.
Yeah. Yes. So from there he just started moving around and talking through embassies and archaeologists and research. Did a whole lot of research, and what he basically did was that he went back to Africa in what date?
So 4,500 BC.
4,500.
Yeah, that's
BC.
About 6,500 years ago.
Yeah. So it's a long time. But how did you get to become who we were? The book basically opened my eyes to why we are the way we are today. There's a major question, there's a great dislike for our skin color. The darker the skin, the more it has a tendency to be not appreciated. Do you understand? It isn't as appreciated as a light colored skin. And then the northern part of Africa, why don't they look black like us? Why do they look different? So a lot of those questions are asked by this book. This book, he actually went out of his way to explain why we are the way we are, what Africa was like before then, and then he went on to offer as much solutions as possible as what we can do as a people to gain the respect and to rise up, like we should.
Yeah. And I think in talking about solutions, really, it's it's a massive book, so it's jumping right there, because it's obviously a book that could be easily criticized, could be easily trivialized, and say people are just making yourselves happy. Because for instance, a lot of black Americans have this notion of, we came from a land of kings, we're all kings and queens. That's not actually true. But the way the kingdoms operated at that time was quite different. But I think what's interesting is that there are a lot of African philosophies, and if you actually travel like I have through African countries, especially if you go to the villages, the hinterlands, you realize that what we have in common is actually more than what separates us. So we actually generally think alike. Our belief systems, our epistemology, our foods, a lot of things that we do are actually alike, and that's because my suspicion was always that it seems like we have a common ancestry, and that's actually what this book tries to bring out. Of course, I don't agree with everything he says. I'm I don't think it's possible, for instance, that we all came from the great Ethiopian or Egyptian civilization, and then over time we broke up. But clearly, there's a lot of history that talks about how for instance, a great civilization would attract foreigners. Foreigners will come, they would settle, they will intermarry, they will have children. After some time, they would rise up and try to take over things.
Yes.
They will try and undermine what the past have done. Starting from ancient Egypt, and eventually, even studying archaeology, and you look at some of the cave drawings, for instance, some of the temple drawings, you realize that there were changes. For instance, the system used to be more matriarchal. That means there was a place for the woman. It was like womanhood was kind of glorified, and then all of a sudden it seemed like that role was upturned, and then women became subservient. So what happened? And that's some of the things that this book tries to talk about.
One of the things I loved the most about the book was that it actually explained why, things like why we were living in huts. Yes, I loved the fact that, we know that the first great civilization that ever existed on Earth is in Egypt. We know this for sure. But the thing is that for every great civilization, like he said, there's always a possibility of great threats. So it's like big stands and big empires will be built with big borders and all that. Then after a while, there's a war. The war being somebody will break in and try to take over. And Africa went through this consistently, at least every 100 years,
Yeah.
for about 6,000, 7,000 years. Consistently. Imagine this, every 100 years, some people will come, take over, rule for 40 years, another people will come, take over. For the after a while, the people that own the land again will come again, rise, So it's like, what then happened was that people start moving around a lot. But when they moved, they did not think of permanent settlements because there was no sense of permanent air. So it's like everybody's thinking, okay, let's just be here. It's quiet here for now. Let's just be here for now, and then let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
If in the next, let's just be here, just. And so people will just say like,
Safety first.
Yeah. So it's like at that point, people didn't see why they should build big, massive stone wall castles and all that. That is where the idea of the hut actually came from. So it's like, just gather some leaves, sit down, stay like this. Then as time went by, but like I said, it was something that it was from generations. So it's like, just like how some things some of the more like traditions that when you were younger, they made sense. Now it doesn't make any sense. Do you understand? That's just how. So a lot of things happened like that. So it's like people would move because of things like famine. The northern part of Africa right now is very, very dry. Hostile environment. Before then, it wasn't that dry. In fact, it was very green. You could sow and you could reap and you'd be fine. But the hostile environment being things like battles and war, and then the climate itself made people to move. So that's how people started scattering around other parts of Africa. And another major thing that was a major issue was the mix. The Arabs were actually the major fighters that tried to take over Egypt over and over again. But what then happened was that they came around a lot, and he called them white Asians. That's what he called them in the book. So like, I had to go and find out what does he mean by white Asians. So in the 1970s, they weren't called Middle Easterns and all that, but he didn't use the words Arabs. So like the Arabs would come in as traders, dealers, because Africa had the best. We had the best hand workers. We worked with tools. We were people that smelted, created even weapons and all that. We're very good with that. We're very good with cloth. He said that it was believed that we had the best best fabric makers in the world. So it's like if you said, fabric from Africa, people are like, they want it, But the thing is that when people need to run away from war, they don't carry clothes, they don't carry tools. All they do is carry their children, carry the life, people that are alive, just take it and run, and some food. So it's like that's how a lot of these things kind of start deteriorating. And but there were actual democratic systems that existed back then with the kings and the queens and the elders and the different, because the diversity of Africa has always existed. But we're able to come up with a place where everybody lived in peace, despite the diversity, because everybody respected each other as this thing. But again, when the Arabs would come, live, dwell for a while, after a while, they want to take over. So once they took over, they will scatter. And what happened was that the diversity started creating more of a problem for us, making it easy for us to conquer. That answered one of the major questions that bothered me, because I always wondered why was it so easy for people to just be, because come somewhere, collect people, move them. The Europeans came like 500 years ago though.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is much later.
This is much
of course.
later.
This is much later. Because it started with the Arabs and all. Yes. So, and I'm just saying that, you know, it's kind of the same thing, really, because from what he's saying, it's like the more things change, the more they remain the same.
Yes.
And which is what he's saying, that there's nothing new, there's no new strategy that's been used. But we as black people just need to open our eyes and realize that, see, our differences are not as many.
The division is the major thing that is working for.
That was why it was easy for us to be conquered, whether it was the Arabs or the Europeans or the Chinese, you know, which is even going on now. It's because there's always that thing about, that village over there, that tribe over there. It's always us versus them.
When he was bringing about solution, he said that we have to get to a point. He said that, okay, he used an example in Black America. African Americans. Now, he's African American, so he was actually producing solutions for African Americans because he believes that that is where the solution can start from. It's a great position,
a good place
for it to start from. Yes, he talked about how that a lot of black businesses don't do very well, but meanwhile, a black man would treat their fellow black man poorly. Like you have a business, right? Let me say I do nails. I'm a black nail technician, and then the way I would treat a black person coming to do my nails is so poor compared to the way I would treat a white person. Why would my business last? Why should a white person come to my business? Think about it. So it's like, the thing is that the possibility of you getting patronized highly is likely to come from people that are like you, but both of us don't even trust each other, customer and nail technician. So how are we going to make this work? It's not going to work. Do you understand? And as much as we can try to infiltrate the tech space, the economic space, the political space, the agri place that's like food and all that, as long as we still sit down and share ourselves into pieces and treat people from other races better than we treat ourselves, we're not going anywhere as a race. You're only going to go by yourself. And even that is going to be skewed, because no matter how much you rise to become who you are, as long as you're not of that particular people that you're trying to rise with, a time will come where they cannot let you keep rising. It just comes with the system, especially amongst the African Americans.
Okay, so I think one interesting thing that I've also noticed and has kind of annoyed me,
what's that?
Is in my studies about Africa and all of that, is that I realized that all the scholars, people that have done these studies, seem to be foreigners. So I'm like, why are Europeans more interested? In fact, they created something called Egyptology, basically the study of Egypt, you know. And this is where, this is the same place where a lot of the ancient Greeks, for instance, had to travel to come and understand certain things. The mathematicians, you know, the philosophers, you know, they got a lot of their knowledge from here. But it's like they've been so relegated. But my point is, at this time, when we know that, okay, you know, way back then, you know, our ancestors did X, Y, Z, but we have not taken it upon ourselves as Africans. Yes, we can say, for me, I don't like to play the victim and say, you know, it was the white people that did this to us. How about the ones that we are doing to ourselves and we continue to perpetuate? Why are we not even interested in our own history? Yes, when this discussion comes, people say, yes, it's important we know our history, but we have to eat first now, before we even... But why do you think somebody else is even more interested? You look at, so in African studies, we call ourselves Africanists, and you realize that 80 to 90% of the Africanists in the world are white. You know, why is this? So there's something so important about Africa that people have decided they need to study. You know, anthropologists and all of that, historians, but we don't see it as important. We think, I want my child to be a doctor. I want my child to be an engineer. All these one people are talking about is theories. You know, but these are the things that are going to pull us out.
Though there's nothing wrong. Okay, can I point that since we start reading this book, we argue every time we want to talk about it. Can I just? No, it's true. That's why anytime I want to talk about it, we start arguing. But anyway, read with somebody in your life and argue. Enjoy yourself.
I think I'm too passionate about the subject matter. That's why.
You don't think I am?
I think I'm too passionate.
I'm not going to argue with this man. Anyway, what I wanted to point out was that he actually said something. He said that he's yet to understand at what point exactly where Africans stopped caring, as the black Africans stopped caring so much about generations after them. He talked about how if we can study, like, let's say the Jews had this thing happen to them that was during the Second World War, and since then they started banding together. And even though they may not know each other personally, once you can identify yourself as this person, that's I think a Hebrew or a Jew, do you understand? There are some things that they will accord to you for that purpose. They might be willing to employ you, they're willing to give you some loan, they may be willing to they're willing to extend you to some other group. Do you understand? But we don't do that. And we've never been those people. We've never been people that sit down and think, I don't know. Yeah, we'll not be people that sit down and think about, oh, okay, let us do something that 4-5 generations after us can care. So initially I used to think it was even a Nigerian thing, but it's actually saying that it's actually a black thing.
Yeah.
That a lot of black people
quite myopic.
don't think, we don't think far, we don't think, okay, what will we be known for? How can we? So like he thinks that that's another major block that we have. We are still carried away by the small fraction that's me.
I think it's probably because we're too comfortable anyway in the first place.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, when somebody is literally just fighting to survive, when you hear about the kind of poverty that was happening in Europe, for instance, like you talked about the dark ages and all, you know. So yes, there's poverty in Africa, but we have not seen poverty where people start literally eating themselves, you know.
Eating their children.
Yeah, you know, it was really terrible. So people had to just survive when the weather is so cold that if you don't do something, you are going to die. You know, so you really have to, you know. So I think it's just interesting that, you know. But at the end of the day, it's about solution. So what do we do? And unity is, I think, the number one thing that you know we need to do.
We really have to get to the point where we just look at each other and recognize what we are. You're black, I am black. What shall we do? What can we do to solve the problem? Because expecting another one, I think that even pains me personally, but he mentioned it in the book, the hand-me-down mentality. The idea that a lot of us believe that solution would come from another place.
Yeah.
It's not going to come. Like we have to get over ourselves. It's not, to me, that I don't even think about wickedness. I think it's human beings.
Yeah.
Like if you were to solve a problem if you were supposed to solve a problem for yourself, would you think of someone else at that time? You take care of yourself. You can sit down and say, this is how they are, blah blah blah. My dear, put it anywhere you want. But the fact is, if you have a problem, you would solve your problem over every other person. So expecting a lot, like you see people sit down, we cannot wait for this country to come and put hand here so that this can be solved. Are you for real?
Yeah.
Like they don't have their own problems, they don't have what they are doing. They are doing their own thing, and really, what is the need for them to come and solve your problem?
Yeah.
Literally, what's in it?
That is what the real problem is. When they do come,
remember the prophecy in the book?
Yes.
The prophecy, okay, now he described different major kingdoms that existed at different times. The particular this thing in Egypt where what was the prophecy again? I forgot how it was said. Maybe I'll write it here.
The white man comes.
Whenever the white man is destructive of the black man, something like that.
Yeah, like
so it's like there was a particular kingdom that existed in Congo for over 300 years.
Yeah.
Like I said,
after the dispersals.
In Congo, central whatever of Congo, a big whatever, that they had a rule that no white man can come. As in, you cannot even pass through. They were not allowing them. Like, no matter what, don't come. Just stay. If you want to do business, do it outside. Don't do it by the gate. Do it outside the gates. Outside. Do you understand? So they believed that a lot because they don't. About the anytime this person came, and they're like, in our history, that's the common this thing. Anytime these people showed up, a few years after, I will show. Anytime they showed up, a few years after. So like this seems to be a common thing for the black person, and we don't seem. I suspect that because we don't know. We don't know how far back into history. We still believe that what's happening now is kind of new for us. If we know far back into history, we would know that this is actually something that you shouldn't be.
I think that's the beauty of history.
You shouldn't be 100% comfortable sometimes when you believe, we're hungry, you people should give us food. Okay,
charity mentality.
Like COVID, we have COVID, give us vaccine.
Yes.
So it's like you believe that why should they give it to you? Why? Think about it. Why should vaccine be given to you?
Yeah.
So like eventually they do bring it. Why are they bringing it? What is it?
What's it for them?
Because it's not for free now. Abi, was it not paid for?
Yeah.
Someone paid for it, so like it's not free. So what's happening? What's the exchange?
Charity has never really worked anywhere.
Never.
In the world. If you think about
countries
it.
that have lived on charity are poorer. They are poorer consistently. Why? You're giving people free something. You're giving them something free. Yeah. It's supposed to be free.
It even destroys their, the sense of dignity of labor, their mindset and all of that. It doesn't allow people to think because somebody else is doing the thinking for you.
Yes.
So that person gets better at your expense.
Yes.
It's just human nature.
Yeah. So in part of the solutions that he had anyway, he talked about black excellence.
Yeah.
A different way of explaining black excellence that we know now, which is basically in the dignity of labor, in the ability to do things for ourselves. I think like the explanation I'm getting from social media of black excellence is being able to feed off existing materials. You understand? Like now, black excellence can be described as me really balling, traveling to somewhere, driving a beautiful car, riding a private jet. That actually is not what he explains as black excellence. Black excellence is me being able to build a jet, or being able to own a jet company, being able to own a vacation, a vacation thing, a resort or something like that, where people can pay me. Because what happens is that when you, yes, you're talking of consumption. That's number one. Number two, somebody else is taking your money. Who is that person? Do you understand? Get to the point where, as a black person, you have to get to a point where your excellence should be where you're on the top of the chain, so that the money goes to you. You get, so that you can do something for your community with it. But if it's where you still feel like, you still need to, because I think one of the major things that we have as a problem, we don't even trust our own brand. Like in Nigeria, even the Nigerian product, it's neither here nor there. You get, and I'm not trying to be shady. It's what it is. Would you buy a Nigerian product? If you were to sell phones, Nigerians are supposed to make phones now. Would you buy a phone, or would you buy from another country? You would likely buy from me. You even think about it. You own this brand. You will buy it. I can't buy. So that's just what it is. So it's like we have to get to a point where we are the ones creating phones. We are the ones creating the airplanes, the cars. So like even in the health sector, bad foods that we buy, people will tell you I cannot use a Nigerian brand a cereal for my children. No, that cannot happen. What is wrong with us? Yeah, so like those type of things. That is where he believes black excellence should be. Anyway, do you remember that lady? There's this girl that we love, woman that we love. What's her name? Queen something. The one in Angola.
Okay.
Queen what? Hey, God forbid, we forgotten this girl's name. Baby girl. I believe that her character is the inspiration behind Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen. Baby girl. Yeah, that woman excited me. She was a queen. She fought with the white people like this and she had her army. So then she married the king of these bandits, this set of bandits again, that were basically terrorizing a lot of people on the streets. So like she married them because she realized that they had more armed forces. Yeah. And they were willing to fight. So she married their Oga so that they can band together and they can continue this fight. Oh boy, I was like, yes, queen, yes. Yeah, I will write her name here. It sucks that I've forgotten her name. She was in Angola. That was when Angola was able to stay as a stronghold for about, I think, 60 years in her reign. 60, for about 60 years in her reign before he fell again. I think after she died, he fell again and that moved away.
And she faked her death several times.
To confuse because she realized that the wars were killing too many black people.
The military strategist, that's what she was doing.
So like when she realized war was killing too many black people, she pretended that she was dead. That reduced the war. Do you understand? Then after everybody calms down, she comes as a queen. Wow! Oh, I love her. Queen. Is it not in Zanzibar? Is it in Zanzibar? It's not in Zanzibar. Somewhere in Angola, it was that woman. That woman gave me joy, personal joy. Loved her. So yeah, that is us and this book. This book is huge.
Too much to talk about.
Yes, too much to talk about, too much to learn. This first time I'm reading a book like this, but I can't explain how important it is for us to start looking within ourselves, and. While we may need to look within, we actually need to look without. One of the things that he said that I actually consider very sad is that a lot of the things that we look at as our history is what was told by someone else. There's a saying about the hunter and the deer. Until the deer learns how to write, until the antelope, learns how to write, the hunter will always be the winner of the game. That's how they said it. Yes, is that not it?
Something along those lines.
Why would you refute me if you don't plan to correct English?
Let's even leave that. I don't know if it was the dare, but the hunter would always be the hero of the story.
The hero of the story, As long as he will always be the hero of the story until the deer learns to write or the antelope learns to write and say, no, it's not the hero, it's me. So it's like we have to learn to do these things for ourselves. And the thing is that he was like that. The fact that some honest foreigners may come to write our history, it is still written with their own mindset, with their own view. So it's like we need to learn to look at it with our own perspective, look at it well, sit and then try to find solutions. But honestly, right now, if you're a black person watching this, as you're listening, just know that there's an answer within you if you can just try. It's going to take a while. He said that he didn't even lie. It's going to take a while. It's going to take generations. But I think we should start thinking more about ourselves, generation-wise, and as a people, what we can do and what we cannot do. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please join us. And all that things, then like the video, then leave a comment below, questions that you might have. This book, I listened to it on Scribd. It was a 12-hour long book. I'm going to leave a link below if there are any places where they have like short maybe summaries of it, so that at least you can listen to that and then you can decide whether you should go ahead and read the book. But honestly, I hope I've convinced you enough to have a little more interest in yourself as a Black person. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.